My childhood was really challenging. There were a lot of questions without many answers. At the age of 4 and 5, I stopped walking. There were new barriers to overcome. But the journeys that I chose to take were never easy. I think that the last thing is that we should realize that there is a unique understanding and knowledge that people with disabilities have about their lives. And so there is a political consciousness of the placement of disability in a society. And so being able to advocate about our own needs is really critical, and having, a seat at the table to be able to say, as a person with a disability, here's how I feel. Things need to be shaped.
Victor Santiago Pineda, a disability rights advocate, professor at UC Berkeley, and an international speaker and consultant on accessibility-related issues, is in Armenia to participate at the National Youth Summit on Social Inclusion, organized by the U.S. Embassy. He spoke to CivilNet about the importance and necessity of inclusion.
I think the message here in Armenia is to remember a tradition which is taught through us, through the Bible. I was talking to a friend of mine about that Armenians see themselves as descendants of Noah's Ark. And in Noah's Ark, there was a place for everybody. And Noah had to accommodate all kinds of different creatures and people and animals to be able to be on this boat. And Armenia has a lot of different kinds of people, and it's, in a sense, needs to navigate through difficult waters, but needs to do that including everybody. So I think that we have to think about all the kinds of groups that are present that can contribute to making Armenia stronger, and that includes people with disabilities.
What happens when society tries to ignore people with disabilities or their needs? What is the long-term impact on society?
So the World Health Organization estimates that about 15% of any population has a naturally occurring rate of disability. That's either through accidents, through congenital, birth challenges, through aging, through all range of different conditions. And I think that if we are fixed in, in a system that views a kind of a standardized worker, as was the case in the Soviet times, these standards leave a lot of people out. So if we think about the future, we should really think about a workforce that is more flexible, that is more dynamic, people that can, telecommute to work, people that can create knowledge workers. And all of these changes are really increase the ability for people with various disabilities to be part of society. So the advances in medicine, the advances in technology, the advances in social thinking have created new opportunities for people that weren't present, 20 years ago. So it's about how do you create a path that unlocks human potential, especially if you're thinking about 15% of the population. But I think that one of the things that we have to consider is that this isn't something that the government does for them or that we do for them. It's something that we do for ourselves. Our grandparents, our parents, our children, our brothers, our neighbors, anybody can at any time acquire a disability. You yourself could acquire a disability, and then you have to ask yourself, is this the kind of place that I would like to live? How would I contribute? How would I be able to give back? How will I keep myself employed or go to the movie or go to the restaurant? So I think it's about, on one level, we could think that it's altruistic. On another level, it's just self-interest.
How important is it to integrate children with disabilities in mainstream education?
Well, I think that we have to prepare people to be full citizens. And so for children with disabilities to be able to learn and grow and play with other kids not only develops a sense of community, but also elevates their sense of self. Because that sense of self, usually for adolescents, is defined through the interactions with others. If you deny or if you limit that interaction, or you just put all the kids with disabilities into a special ed program, they are missing out on so much of their own development. So I myself was a relatively, shy kid, and I had to think a lot about whether I wanted to live kind of, on the sidelines, in the shadows, on the, being aware that living with a disability, you're constantly assessing various obstacles. And those obstacles are providing various kind of risks. Will I, be able to cross the street before the light turns green? Will I be able to, get to the job appointment on time if I can't get on this bus? So all of these different risks are things that you think about, but the fact that you are taking yourself out of society because you fear encountering these obstacles, you are actually developing many more challenges by not working to better your life. And society ends up actually losing out on the possible contributions. We know Stephen Hawking, we know Beethoven wrote, his symphonies when he was deaf. We also know that, Steve Jobs had a learning disability and he invented, Apple. So the idea that there is some kind of standard, some kind of normalized person is really it's a fantasy. What we have to think about is how do we allow the greatest, the widest types of kids to learn, to grow, to engage with each other. And that can be simple about modifications. I was just saying that for me, I have my muscles are weak as a result of a polio vaccine. The vaccine ended up damaging my muscles. But the fact that my muscles are weak ends up creating a whole range of different ways that I interact with the world. I need an assistant to help me get dressed. I need a specialized vehicle to be able to get to school. I ended up using a lot of technology to be able to interact and communicate. And so the various ways in which I carry out, live out my day, those are all kind of ways that you innovate through a problem. These are ways that you see solutions where other people don't see solutions. It's difficult to do that by yourself. Where there's a willingness, like the School 100 that we visited here in Yerevan, there's a willingness of teachers, there's a willingness of students to engage in something that is unknown. How do we incorporate a child with a disability? But there's a willingness to discover that path. Then you have the possibility for inclusion.